Alright, hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be testing the spelling bee system that I've created. Um, we are now going to perform about 18 tests across all of the three available models for the application. So the tests are divided into three sections: the navigational path tests, the functionality tests, and the interactivity tests. So let us begin with the navigational path tests. This is test number 1. We are to perform a forward pass-through of all the available forms that we can, pretty much go through from the beginning. So as you can see here, I have separate installations for all of the models. So this is the custom hard drive model, this is the standalone model, and these two installations are required for the local network model. So let's begin with the standard installation model, go to the custom hard drive model, and then the last test will always be with the local network model. Alright, so let's begin. The default username and admin credentials, username and password credentials are admin and admin. Okay, so this is the model form. And then we can move to the spelling test form, where we can take spelling tests, create new tests, etc. Then we can see our results, the results form, and the spreadsheet form shows all the data. Now the settings form, just to see username, potentially setting your username and password, just see some of your registration data. And then we can log out, make sure that the registration form works. That's pretty much all the forms you can go through from here. So this is the typical screen that you'll see when the application has been installed and properly configured. Alright, that was quite successful, so now let's move on to the custom hard drive model. Same login. Alright, model form, spelling test form, results form, spreadsheet form, settings form, log out, and just check the registration form. Okay, and now the final model, the local network model. So for this model, we need to start up the server as well as the client. Okay, notice now how the server allows me to start the server, whereas when I log in with the same credentials as a client, it won't give me the option. So you can see you can't start the server. So model form, spelling test form, results form, no spreadsheet form, again we're logged in as a client, settings form, okay, then we can log out and just ensure the registration form shows up. And we can also test to ensure just that all the forms are accessible via the server interface. So settings form, results form, spreadsheet form, spelling test form, and there's no registration form because that only works over the network to send to the server. The server does not allow new users to be registered on it unless you add them via the spreadsheet form. And if you notice the delay, like with the client versus the server, that's because the server accessed all the data locally, whereas the client needs to request it first from the server over the network. So there's a slight delay in getting the data over. Alright, that's test 1 pretty much done. Now we can move on to test 2, which is to perform a backward pass through all of the possible forms. We'll begin at the spelling test form and work backwards to all the possible forms. So again, standalone model first, same login, and we begin here. We can close this, go back to the model form, open the results form, open the spreadsheet form, close those, go to the settings form, log out, registration form, and that's pretty much your backward pass. Now for the custom hard drive model. And we can log in with the same credentials. So spelling test form, model form, results form, spreadsheet form, settings form, logout, and registration form. And now for the final network model, which is the local network, local model, network model, local network model, sorry. Okay. Start the server, admin, default, and request the data again. So spelling test form, model form, results form, settings form, and the registration form. Now let's perform the test on the server. Spelling test form, results form, spreadsheet form, settings form, and no registration form. Okay, that's test 2, and now we will go to test 3, which pretty much asks us to attempt to use more than one method accessing certain functionality. So for instance, if there's a button and a menu item that does the same thing, we should test both to ensure their work. The best way to test this is actually in the spelling test form. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So we can load up the spelling test form, and we can either create a new test by clicking this button, or we can go to our functions and click create a new test. So let's test both to ensure they work. So create a new test, that works. We need to load the latest test, and then let's try and create a test from the menu. That also worked. And yeah, that's pretty much the well, there's also many other buttons, so we can add rows from here. That added 11, so if you see that again, 11 is the maximum right now, so now we have 12, or I can click this button. We have 13, 14, and 15. If I remove some rows, you can see that I can't scroll down any further. It should also work in the menu. Now we only have 12. We can clear the new rows we just added, so we'll just clear everything pretty much. And let's just add some new rows. And let's try and clear them from here. Let's clear it again. Let's just enter some data here. Let's clear all rows, add some rows, then clear all rows from here. That's pretty much all of the buttons, as well as submit, but for now we're not going to be submitting anything. That's a later test for functionality. And yeah, there are definitely many ways to do certain things, such as user creation. Either they can register themselves, or you can add them in via the spreadsheet form. That will be demonstrated a bit later on in the functionality tests. That for our purposes for test 3, that should be sufficient. So let's just ensure it also works on the custom hard drive model. So let's try and create a new test, load the latest one, create a new test again. That worked. Let's try and add some rows. We now have 11. Add a row here, we now have 12. Remove one row, we have 11. Move another row, we have 10. Let's add some new rows, and let's clear the new rows, so that cleared everything. Add some rows, and then again, clear the new rows. That worked. And then let's add some data here, clear all rows, add some data here, clear all rows, it's gone. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Now the local network model. Okay, so we can't actually create any tests with the client, so we need to do that on the server actually. So let me just stop that. try and create a new test. Load the latest one. Time to create a new test. Let's add a row. 11 is our max. Add another row. We now have 12. Remove a row. Remove a row again. Clear the new rows. Add a row. Clear the new rows from here. That worked. Add some rows. And then clear all rows. And then add some data here. And then clear all rows again. It's all gone. Alright, that was pretty successful for test 3. Now we move on to the functionality tests, beginning with test number 4, where we have to register a new register a new user with normal data, meaning that they don't have anything strange in their username or anything required for registration. So let's begin with the standalone model. Click the register button, and we're just going to name our new user test and use that for all the fields. Alright, submit. Registration complete. Let's just verify that we can log in. Yep, that worked. Let's do the same thing with the custom hard drive model. Register, test, 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 test. Registration complete. Log in. And it works. Now for the local network model, we'll do this from the client to the server. Data will be pretty much sent to the server. So let's click that. Let's just start the server first. And the server is running. Enter our new registration data. Submit. And that should work now. Let's see. And voila, that worked. So test 4 is a success. Now we move on to test 5, where we attempt to register a user with erroneous data. Let's begin with the standalone model type. Now what we mean by erroneous data is that pretty much there are 3 characters that are illegal across every field within the application, and these characters are the comma, the pipe character, and the minus character. The reason for this is that some of the files use it for formatting and based on the way some of the data is stored, so we can't allow the user to enter that because it'll just mess up the file when we're reading from it. So let's attempt to register and see what happens. We are told that there's an error because one of these characters is exists within any of these fields. So that was yeah, that's checked against. Let's try the same test on the custom hard drive model. Register. Again, same test. And it actually should work on the client without having to start the server, because it's more of a local thing rather than a server thing, because that would just waste the server's resources. Yeah, so it also won't work for the local network model. Alright, that's test 5 pretty much done. Now we move on to test 6, where we register a new user with extreme data. The way I'll do this is just to enter as many characters as possible into the registration field. So again, we start with the standalone network model. Let's just enter A as many times as we can. Okay, that's pretty much the max. Copy and paste that. Paste that. Copy and paste that. Copy and paste that. Submit. And we wait. The registration complete. Now let's attempt to log in. And it works. Let's perform the same test with the custom hard drive model. Registration complete. Let's try and log in. Success. Okay, and now with the local network model, we do need the server for this test. Defaults. Start the server. Let's attempt to register them first. And submit. And now we wait. Success. Let's just ensure we can log in. And it worked. That was a success. Alright, so now we can move on to test 7, where we edit the normal results of a user to normal data. So first we need some results so we can get those from the spelling test form, submit the test a couple of times. So as always, standalone model first. Let's log in with our admin user. Take the test, just enter to get some marks at least. Alright, so we'll have 20%. Close that, open the results. And if we open the spreadsheet view, we have 20%. I just need to enter some data here, otherwise it won't save. Nothing can be empty in this form. So it's at 20, so let's edit it to like 35, for instance, which should be normal. And let's save and exit. Alright, that pretty much saved. So as you can see, my average score is about 20 because that's only across one test though. But if I show my test scores, now you can see it's somewhere about 30. Yeah, it should be 35. And then when I reload, it's up to 35 now. So that was successful. Let's perform the same test with the custom hard drive model. Results. So again, 20%, spreadsheet view. Let's edit it up to 35. Save and exit. Alright, so it's at 20 right now. Up to 35 and back up to 35. Okay, let's perform the same test on the local network model. So we'll start up our clients as well as our server. Okay, defaults. So we'll start the server, log in with the client. Let's take the test. Okay, enter some answers. %. Now let's wait here. Temporarily stop the server. Go to the results. As you can see, we have the 20% for our user. Go to the spreadsheet view. Enter some data here, edit this up to 35, save and exit. Okay, and let's reload it, 35, 35, and if we start the server again, and then access the results, and you can see 35 right there. Alright, that was pretty much a success. A bit sluggish on the local network model, but that's kind of to be expected. Just ensure the data does get from one place to the other. And now we can move on to test 8, where we edit the normal results of a user to extreme data. So like above 100% would be considered extreme. So let's begin with the standalone model. Login, results, spreadsheet, attempt to like edit this to 1,000. So these are percentages, so 100% should be like the maximum. So save and exit. Some of the results are too large, greater than 100%. Clearly, we can't save it. So that's a success. Try the same thing on the custom hard drive model. Results, spreadsheet view. Edit this up to 1,000. Save and exit, and it failed. Good. And now let's just do the server side of the local network model, because it's a local validation rule. And edit this to 1,000. Save and exit. And it's clearly too large. Alright, so that's test 8. Now we move on to test 9, where we edit the normal results of a user to erroneous data. Again, erroneous meaning the 3 legal characters I spoke of earlier, which are the comma, the pipe, and the minus sign. So standalone model first. Results, spreadsheet view, and let's put some bad characters in here. And attempt to save. So they're detected, and we can't save. Okay, custom hard drive model. So admin, again, results, spreadsheet. Attempt to put data here, save and exit, failure. And now the local network model just on the server side because the client can't access the spreadsheet. So results, spreadsheet, put in the erroneous data, failure. Alright. And now we can move on to test 10, where we attempt to create a new spelling test. So standalone model first. So spelling test, create new test, and I'm just gonna submit it as it is. No. Okay. Now let's attempt to load the latest test. This is the latest test we just created, and the number is increased. Alright, let's do the same thing on the custom hard drive model. Test, submit, no, okay. Load the latest test. Alright, that worked again. And now we need to do it on the server side of the local network. Let's create new test. And just submit. Nope. Okay. Test number -1. It's all here. And now let's start the server and see if the client can get the latest test. The spelling test here. And we have that same test submitted from the server. So we can also create a new test here. Let's attempt to do that. Submit it. Okay, let's try and load the latest test, which is test week 3 now, but it's the same test essentially. Now let's try and load that up on the server, and it has loaded, which is very good. Alright, so that was pretty much a success. Now we need to attempt to edit an existing spelling test. So again, standalone model first. So admin, login, spelling test, edit existing test, -1. Now let's just change the first definition to socks, because why not? Submit, nope, okay. Then load the latest test. And now we have socks instead of definition 1. Custom hard drive model, same test. Edit existing test, -1. Socks, submit, no, okay. So load test number, -1. We have socks here now. And now for the local network model type. That's the client, that's a server. And let's try and edit an existing test. So -1, change that to socks, submit, no, okay. Load test number, -1, we have socks here. Let's start the server and see if the changes will be carried over. So let's load up the spelling test. And we have socks here again. So let's try and edit this again and change it to socks, for instance. So that's submitted. Let's stop the server, and we have socks here as well. Pretty cool, huh? So that's test 11 in a nutshell. And now we can move on to test 12, where we have to take a spelling test for assessment. I've demonstrated this before, but I'm going to do it again. So standalone model first. Spelling test, just word 1, word 2. That should yield about 20%. Alright. Just verify that we do have that result. Yep, test 2, we have 20%. Alright, now let's do the same test on the custom hard drive model. Take the test, word 1, word 2, 20% again. results, show them, and 20% is now the new latest test we have taken. Log out. Now let's do this for the custom hard drive model. Sorry, the local network model. Start the server, log in. Okay, so we can request the latest test. Alright, and let me just temporarily stop the server just to show you the results. We only have one test currently for the admin user. Let me just restart the server, and this should add one more result. And let's submit it. 30% correct and submitted. Will the result be shown here on the client side? And we have 30% for test 3, which we just took. Let's just ensure that it also exists on the server, which it does. Pretty cool, once again. Close all that. Alright, and that's test 12 in a nutshell. Now we can move on to the interactivity tests that test how the application responds to certain situations. And let's see, well, tell the user, I guess. So we move on to test 13, where we attempt to log in with no data and the username, password, and classroom text boxes, if available. So standalone model first. Let's just try and log in. Username or password is too short, so clearly that's validated. And let's try that for custom hard drive model too. Attempt to log in. Username or password is too short. Again, didn't work. And let's try that for the clients as well as the server. Alright, username and password is too short. Username or password is too short. Okay, so all of them pretty much passed that successfully and tell the user that they can't log in. Now, test 14, we attempt to log in with normal data in the username, password, and classroom text boxes if available. This has been done before, but just for the test, here's test 14. So standalone model first, admin, login, and it worked. Let's do the same for the custom hard drive. That worked. And now the local network model. So first the server and then the client. So server first. That was successful. Let's start the server and let the client now log in. And that also worked. Alright, test 14, done. And now test 15, we need to attempt to log in with extreme data and username and password and classroom text boxes if available. So we're going to use that 100 character A username, password, and so on. So standalone model first. Let's just fill it up with A's. Copy and paste that. Log in, and it works. Same thing for the custom hard drive model. It also works. And now the local network model. So let's first attempt it on the server. It works, and we can also start the server and attempt to log in here. And we managed to log in on the client as well as the server. Okay, so that's test 15. Now we can move on to test 16, 17, and 18. These tests basically malform the three main files that the application uses in their installation directories. So, test 16, we need to malform the spellingbee-system.data file. So let's just make a backup of it. Open up the file, remove the info tag, save it, and attempt to start the application. Spellingbee-system.data is corrupted. Please reconfigure or delete the file. Now that happens because there needs to be an info tag, because that's how the file is structured, and these are always validated. Now let's try and malform the data in a different way, like inserting illegal characters where they shouldn't be across the file. Granted, this will probably be detected a bit later in the form, in the application. The reason for that is it's quite difficult to know where the user entered, malformed data, so there will be probably a nasty exception that arises. So let's just save that and start the application and attempt to log in. And we have an exception, probably because the data is malformed and it couldn't retrieve the necessary data to check against the username and password. But let's just reset the original file back so that the system is still functional, and do the same test on the custom hard drive model. Okay, so notice the custom hard drive model spellingbee-system.data file is numbered. The reason for that is to allow many users to to store basically their spelling bee system files in the same directory at the same time. The reason for this is, if you have like a network attached storage, this could be a good solution. But I mean, if you have a network, then you would probably want to go for the local network model, just have everything in one file without having to merge multiple files later, which can be quite tedious. So first we try and delete this tag, start it up, and we can't again. Put the tag back, and malform the data now. Save that, load it. That is corrupted, probably because I corrupted a tag, but let me just remove it from any tags. Should be that. And let's attempt to log in. Surprisingly, it let us in. Probably because it's just checking the user line file, but if we open up results, we should get an exception. Yeah, we have, because we malformed the results. Okay, so now let's just restore this. And we can move on to the local network model. Now all of the data is mainly stored on the server, so corrupting the tags would probably be the only thing the user can do, as well as certain like default username. Well, apart from the results and the just the identification, just to know the user exists, right? But there are no passwords here, so those are all stored on the server, and they function very similarly. So we're just going to test the server. Spelling bee system.data file. So open that up, remove this, save it, start it, and it will fail to start. So open this back up, place that, and let's malform the data. Start it. Attempt to log in. And we have an exception. Alright. Let's just restore this back. Okay, so now we can move on to test 17, where we malform the spelling bee tests.data file. So this is going to be tested in the spelling bee test form. So standalone first, back it up, open it up, remove the weak tag, attempt to start the application, fails to start because this file is corrupted. Now let's add some random data just to corrupt bad characters. Let's start it up again. Log in as normal. Look at the spelling test, and we have an exception. Most likely because the definitions array and the words array are not in sync, because that's what's needed to load the form. Well, size-wise, they need to be the same, because if you have one definition, you should obviously have one word to go with it. Okay, so we can remove that and restore the old copy. Let's try the same thing with the custom hard drive model. Move the weak. Attempt to start the application. Fails to start. Put that back, but now we can corrupt the file. And we can log in and see if the spelling test form will load. And it does, surprisingly. But what would happen if we submit? Interesting. Interesting. So this clearly was not malformed enough. Probably, or maybe the exception was thrown somewhere, hence why. Let's see if we get anything. Yeah, it's pretty much broken now because the file is malformed, but if we attempt to open it again, we will get an exception. So let's delete that and put that back as it was. And now with the local network model, so we can test the server, which will probably be the best test we can do. So remove that tag, save it, start it up. Tag is missing. Oh, let's just add some random. Ah yes, it did not, yeah, I remember, I know what happened with the custom hard drive. It basically had two tests. I malformed the first one instead of the second one, and it always loads the latest test upon entry. So we can save that, this up, log in as normal, and we get an exception. So if that is then sent over to the client, they will also get an exception. To demonstrate that, we can open up the client. Let's just back up this file. So start the server. And let us attempt to spread the file, well, the tests. And we have an exception, most likely because the file was corrupted that we received from the server, test-wise. So if we open up our client spelling bee test file, we have the corruption right there, because that's the latest test we requested. None of the other tests are affected, but if we wanted to load them, then it will request them and corrupt them as well. But since we couldn't get in, we couldn't load them. So let's just restore this back, and then move on to the final test. Alright, so this is now the final test, where test number 18, where we start the application of a malform data in the settings.xml file. Now this file is crucial because it tells you how the application is to start, what to show, what not to show, and so on. So let's start with the standalone model, and let's remove the first tag, well, element, XML element, sorry. And we have an exception, because it can't load basically the first time startup form, the one that you usually see to configure the application, now basically can't jump through the hoops it needs to because the XML element just doesn't exist. But let's add it back and give it some strange value. It should be a boolean, as you can see by the type attribute. Let's start it up again. We will have another exception where the string was not recognized as a valid boolean that we entered. Alright, let's restart that back. Perform the same test on the custom hard drive model. So back it up, open it up, remove the first element, close and save, start it, exception thrown, put the element back, put some invalid data, save, open, exception thrown. Alright, let's put that back, and let's test this with the client and the server now. So remove the elements, save, start, exception thrown, put the element back, put some bad data, start it, and another exception thrown. Delete that. And let's now test this with the client. First element gone. Exception thrown. Put some erroneous data. And exception thrown once again. That's pretty much it. That's all the tests I've pretty much envisioned to do to give a pretty, I think, well, pretty good view of how the application functions and generally just works, I guess. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video.